Hey guys, this is 97 Lego Maniac. Be sure to check out my other social media accounts and my Patreon. Links are down below. Okay, I don't remember exactly when I finished all these figures for Spider-Man Homecoming, but I believe it was like late March or early April. I could have made this video way sooner, but because of school, Guardians 2, and other customs I had to showcase or work on, I ended up postponing this video for a few months now. For this video, I have both Spider-Man, one in his homemade suit, and the upgrade Spidey suit in Civil War, and our main antagonist, Batman, Vulture. I didn't make Iron Man because I am not a fan of his suit in this film, but I am definitely making a new improved Iron Man in the future with LED and more cool stuff on it. Now onto the video. This is my second version of Spider-Man in his upgraded suit we've seen in Civil War. I absolutely hate my first version, so I ended up making an entire new one. His head is new, and the hardest part of painting were definitely the eyes. It's hard to get the black and white shape right, and then it's harder to paint them symmetrically. I use dark red paint for the webbings because I think black webbings would just stand out way too much on the figure and it can be pretty distracting. The webbings keep scraping off, so I pretty much gave up painting it, which is why it looks a bit rough, but personally I don't mind it that much. His torso started off as a blank red torso because I think it'll be easier to paint webbings in case I make a mistake. The main body of the Spidey symbol is actually all sculpted, which I don't see a lot of people do, so I believe I am the first to do that. His legs, however, are actually painted because I honestly can't sculpt that small. The black lines that runs on his torso and into his arms are actually all made with E-tape, and I had to glue them in place so they won't move around and ruin everything. The web canisters are actually layers of E-tape, and I sculpted them with Procreate. I honestly don't know if the Spidey symbol on his back is accurate, but I really don't care anyway. His wrist has sculpted web shooters, and I made his webs out of hot glue and used Procreate as a sticky tack. His legs are actually dual molded legs, which I got from the Batman v Superman sets, and I used my own dark blue paint to match it with the torso, and I wrapped E-tape around his boots. The homemade suit is kind of inaccurate because I finished this figure before Hot Toys released their own figure. One thing I actually kept from this toy here, I believe it's a Marvel Legends figure, is the Spidey symbol, but the rest I had to change, such as the head. His goggles are actually all sculpted and painted by me. I think I screwed up with the eye placement because they kind of look too far apart on this figure. But whatever, it doesn't bother me that much. The hoodie is actually all sculpted, and unfortunately I do not have red paint that actually matches Lego's color, so I went with this glossy red and I thought it was close enough. His web shooters are made with E-tape, and the base and the 3D detail around it are actually made with dry Procreate. I painted blue over the red legs because the red paint I have simply just sucks. Like my upgraded Spider-Man, he can still utilize the webbing. Vulture! Wow, where to start? Well, for one, he couldn't even fit in his frame. Starting off with this minifigure, his head was made by modifying a Lego pilot helmet. I sculpted some details around it, and I glued a piece of plastic for the visor. Unfortunately, that means the head and the helmet are actually all in one piece, so it's not fully removable. The jacket was made with E-tape, and I used that same material to make the harnesses and straps around the minifigure. I also used Procreate to sculpt some more safety pads or armor on his torso and on his legs. The belt buckle is actually made with a cut-up Lego radiator piece instead of just sculpting it with Procreate like what I usually do on my figures. His legs are actually wrapped around with E-tape to act like his shin guards and metal plating, and I used Lego claw pieces for his talon. The wings are easily the worst part I've ever made in my life in terms of the process of making it, but in the end it ends up being my favorite thing I actually made in my life. I wanted to give a quick shout out to my buddy James, aka The Lost Minifig. Please check him out down below, for using Mixo ball joints as the wings' main articulation. Everything else I pretty much came up with myself. The wings are actually made with 7 different pieces. The base is actually made with a neck brace and a 1x2 flat tile. Then I used a piece of plastic for the base around it, and I sculpted fur parts off the jacket onto the neck brace because I wanted his wings to be fully removable in order for me to paint those gigantic wings easier. I then sculpted additional details such as the booster parts, and after that I moved on to the next part. The next were actually the wings themselves. I glued a piece of plastic onto a Mixo joint and I modified it and then painted all these details. I didn't want to paint something completely random on the wings, so what I do, I use this Marvel Legends Vulture as a reference image for the wings, and I tried to fit as many details as I can. It wasn't that hard painting it, but it was definitely tricky to paint them symmetrically. I then cut out a tiny piece of a Lego antenna and I glued it on top corners of each wing. Next are the wingtips. While I do think the katanas are actually a great idea on James, I wanted to make my wings more flat and less 3D. So I just cut the shape out from the leftover piece of plastic I had, and then I cut a hole on the corner so that way I can attach them onto the wings. This way I can give cool dynamic poses and add some more articulation. Lastly, the turbines. I got these turbine pieces from the Lego Carnage set, and thank God I have those laying around, or else I had to paint this exact same detail. I wanted the turbines to move around just like in the movie, so what I did, I glued tiny piece of Lego antenna pieces on the turbine. Next, I cut out a base of plastic and I glued tiny pieces of flex tube on both sides. This way, the turbine can spin just like what we have seen so far. I don't see many Vulture minifigures that has this technique, and I'm quite proud of doing this myself. Then, it was time to figure out how to connect the turbines onto the wings. I used Lego's antenna piece and skeleton arms and flex tube to connect everything together and give them full articulation. That is it, and whew, that was a lot of work. Vulture is definitely my favorite I made this year, and my favorite custom in general probably. I'm glad that many people actually like this figure over on Instagram and on Flickr, and I hope you guys on YouTube like it too. I can't wait for the movie, and be sure to let me know if you guys think Vulture is the best minifigure I've made so far. Stay tuned for my future customs such as my Red vs. Blue showcase, Transformers The Last Night, Halo customs, Defenders, my Captain America, and potential Ruby customs as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.